And we're going to talk a little bit about that being the thought leader is not the same as being the thought expert. And you don't need to be the most technical person in the room, but you need to start asking the more thoughtful questions for you to kind of guide your team. So think about this before you implement any tool for you to achieve successful implementation and adoption of not going to call it AI, but just in general, a tool or process, you really need to start generating a culture of innovation, a culture of curiosity, a culture of alignment. So the first thing is like start asking better questions rather than implementing better tools or just more tools in general. So a quick example is like I'm gonna give you this example where 40 global design leaders, their entire output was to start generating questions, things like where do humans stay? Who gets left behind? And you can start just asking questions to your company or the people in your company about what are their fears? Like, is AI gonna replace me? What is AI? Like what are the questions that people think about? What is my role now that AI is here? Right. So because a lot of the people that work in the architecture industry, they might be anxious about it. Like 70% of the people in the survey here on the AIA reported that they're anxious about AI. That means that even though they want to utilize AI, they're a little anxious about it. Like they see all these videos out there of these AI creating movies now and creating these very cinematic things. And a lot of people say, well, there goes the Hollywood industry right here. But a lot of people are starting to get a little bit concerned about architecture or design in general. And how is it gonna change design, if it's gonna change in a meaningful way or not? And I feel like the first step you really need to take is to start being that leader or start just asking questions. I start kind of seeing what are people's concerns. Whenever I jump into an architecture firm, I can totally see that there's some people that are very curious about the tool, but they are cautious. And there's some other people that honestly, they don't want to even, they don't even know, they have not utilized the tool at all. So, and they're just honestly scared about it or they're just against it. So is starting to understand what are people's questions in what's in their head. Right.
But first, if you are serious about making your architecture firm grow, or you are an architect willing to learn these systems and apply it to your company, I have put together an AI discovery for architects resource that you can access and get familiar with the fundamentals of AI for architecture. So comment presentation below and we will send you the guide to access it on demand. All right, let's jump into the video.
Right. Then after that, you start kind of guiding the transition to the journey. So rather than just skipping ahead and start utilizing tools, it's good to start going from understanding that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be fearful and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be maybe have that uncertainty. So is it starting to kind of thinking about how can I guide this process to where we go from fear to curiosity, right? To interest, because that's where you are going to start finding opportunity for people to start utilizing the tool. When they're fearful, the chances are like they're, even though you force them or the company forces them to use the tool, the attitude of them using the tool, as soon as the AI doesn't give them let's call it 100% of the result, they're gonna be like, well, I knew that AI is not working right now. So they're gonna stop utilizing it. But the moment you start kind of educating people, you start kind of addressing the concerns and you start kind of going from the fear to compliance to overwhelm, because there's a lot of emotions up there. A lot of people are very overwhelmed because there's so many tools coming out. It seems like you actually need developer skills. But if you start turning it into curiosity, into interest, then is where more people are going to be willing to open up and start utilizing the tool and start being patient with this tool and start learning how to utilize it properly. So that's what you really want to do before you even start implementing the tool. You want to start generating a culture of alignment here, a culture of innovation. And just something to kind of add to this is like leaders are calm. So you have to make sure that you are being consistent and showing up every day, right? Like rather than you just being the most advanced user, you just have to make sure you're grounded and you're showing up every day and you are addressing people's concerns. You are just moving the conversation forward, just making sure like somebody is moving the conversation forward of like, hey, how are we utilizing this technology? What are the concerns? How can we align on something? And the reason why I'm creating these slides here is because understanding that AI is just like any other new technology. It could be used for good or bad. And in the architecture industry is the same. So to me is to give you this set of, let's call it knowledge, this knowledge for you to utilize the AI tool properly and in a responsible way, and for you to inform as a leader, inform your company on how to use it properly in a responsible way and not cutting corners and not make it sort of like a fast food thing where it's just a bunch of junk, but actually how to use it like this properly in the design so it's more meaningful, so it provides a lot more value for the industry. So that's the purpose of this slide. And with that being said, the slide is going to talk a little bit about mindset. So let's go to the next slide. We need to kind of go from the mindset of how can I do this to how can AI help me with this? Because at the end of the day, you have to understand that this has to become a little bit of a habit, right? It's very hard to start implementing a tool, whether it's in your lifestyle or whether it's at work, if you are not proactively thinking about implementing it. And the right way to start doing this is just asking that simple question. On every time you go to work, and you have a task in mind, instead of just saying, how can I do this, is how can AI help me with this? And understand the key word on this is help, right? It's not like, how can AI do this for me? Is how can AI help me with this? So the idea is that, especially on the operational tasks that are maybe low impact tasks that are operational, that are taking you 5 to 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week, they can help you cut those in half. But it's with the assistance of AI. As we mentioned before, you always have to edit those things. You have to always take it to the finish line, but AI can help you really make the processes a lot faster. So really start with that question. Just write it down, write it in a document, put it on the wall screen or your computer. How can AI help me with this? So every time you jump into an issue or a problem or just something you need to resolve, just start with, how can AI help me with this? And if you're not sure how can it help you with this, ask it, saying like, hey, I have this problem. How can you help me with this, right? And that's the first thing on the mindset. Now, here are a little bit on the AI best practices that we can kind of get you involved. A little bit is to, whenever you're going to implement a tool, is like, first of all, is a strategic implementation. So not just implement a tool just for the sake of implementing, not just add a tool to the organization just for the sake of being like overhyped, but actually start thinking strategically on how can we address an alignment first within the organization. Because the fact that if you're not getting into an alignment before, the problem is like, if you're not getting into alignment before, the truth is like nobody's going to use the tool except for the few people that integrate the tool. So the first thing you want to make sure that happens is like you strategically plan the implementation, meaning like get the alignment first. Test it first. Make sure it works first. Make sure it's scalable for people to be able to use it. Make sure that there is education and training on these tools so everybody can use it. So that's the first thing, is strategic implementation. Now you have the responsible use charter, meaning like use AI responsibly. And that's the one that I really want to emphasize here before we move to the next sections, is to use AI responsibly. Like any other tool, AI is good for great benefits, but it can also use for bad, right? Especially also in architecture or design, it can be used to cut corners. It could be used to not giving you meaningful design, where there's not really thoughtful thinking into how it's solving people's problems. It just looks pretty. So you really want to start using AI responsibly and making sure that getting that alignment in a company that we're going to be using AI responsibly. That's the other one. Human oversight remains. So making sure that you're always going to be editing, right? You're always going to be testing, editing. You're not going to let AI run wild, right? So knowing that AI is just an assistant. So whether you're using it for due diligence, whether you're using it for code analysis, data, optimizations, rings, ideation, understanding that at the end of the day, the AI is just going to take you 50%, 60%, 70% there. But you as the thought leader, you're the one that is going to take it all the way there. Understanding that AI is not going to do things for you. AI is going to help you with stuff, right? But not do things for you. It's not a magic bullet. And then the last one would be curiosity over fear, which means that as implementation goes, you need to understand like what are the people's concerns. Now, you might not have a concern. You might be excited about AI, but you don't understand what are the concerns of your clients, what are the concerns on your team, what are the concerns of the consultants, what are the concerns of the city. So start understanding what are people's fears and uncertainty and misconceptions with the tool, and start thinking about how can I turn that fear, that uncertainty into interest and into curiosity. Okay. So now for the last part, I'm going to give you that last 20% that you need that was part of the whole presentation. So the first one here was the conductor, not an instrument, understanding that for us to redefine the industry or the way we operate, we need a strategic direction on how to do these things. And the architect is going to be the conductor of it, right? And AI is going to be the assistant. The second one is going to be the thoughtful over fast. Kind of what we got from larger firms, where it's a lot better to implement things more thoroughly and in depth. As a small or medium-sized organization, you can do both. You can do that, but at the same time, you can do it a lot faster than a larger firm. Meaning that pick one pain point, pick 2 or 3 tools that you can test in 1 month, and then once you kind of know which tool you want to use, then you can implement it in depth, right? And really start thinking about the implementation. So you get the best of both worlds. Number 3 will be to navigate the life cycle, meaning here is where, as an architect, remember that you are going to be the filter. You're going to be the curator. You're going to learn how to communicate with AI. You're going to learn how to edit this, and you're going to kind of go and walk through that in the conceptual process, in the development process, and in the production process. The last one here, not the last one, but then the number 4 will be to lead with questions. And here's to understand your team concerns and fears, and actually getting a culture of alignment and innovation, so we can all align and actually utilizing the tool properly. And the last one here to be the governance gap, right? So you start setting, finally, when you start implementing the tools, you're starting setting standards, you're starting setting guardrails, you start enabling this fast experimentation process. And that's how you really start implementing the AI tool successfully in a company, with you being the leader and finding alignment in a company. So that's AI Explained, the tools and how it's transforming architecture right now. But if you're watching this and thinking, okay, Danny, I get it, but what's my next step? I've got you covered. If you're serious about growing your architecture firm, or you're an architect who wants to implement these systems in your company, I have put together an AI discovery for architect research. It breaks down the fundamentals and gives you a clear roadmap to get started. Comment discovery below this video, and we will send you the guide to access it on demand. Make sure you are subscribed, because we are diving deeper into AI workflows, tools, and implementation strategies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.